froggies!
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Post-Apocalyptic. I am Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson. This is my very well-hidden friend, Chris Anonymous. Chris, I have a riddle for you. Okay. What do you get when you cross Children of Men, Mad Max, and the Super Mario Brothers movie?
I give up.
Hell comes to Frogtown! This movie,
that's spot on.
Did you feel that? Did you feel the? I was trying to figure out what the third ingredient was.
Yeah, Mad Max, Children of Men, and then like visually, aesthetically, Super Mario Brothers, the live action film.
Well, so I want to talk about those three movies real quick and why they came to mind, and most importantly, I want to talk about Children of Men. Like I never realized that this is semi the same premise as did that movie win awards? Children of Men.
It won if it didn't win, it was nominated for. Yeah.
So the premise is that it's kind of the post-apocalyptic world in a way. There's a virus, I think, that's gone through, and I don't know if it's that the men are infertile or that the women are infertile, but anyway, there are no more children. Right. And
right.
So
of men.
I think in that movie is Children of Woman. I don't know why they named it that. But so the premise of this film is very ridiculous. It is, well, maybe not so ridiculous that the world has gone through a couple nuclear disasters and there are no more fertile people, I guess. And there's a very low population of fertile women and an even lower population of fertile or virile men. Virile. Yeah. The premise, like, I just think it's fascinating that in Children of Men, that sounds like a very interesting premise. Like we get a lot of really great drama out of that. It really shows the stakes of what's going on in the movie. I can't remember the actor's name. Is it Colin Farrell?
No, it was other Colin
Farrell.
Clive Owen.
Clive Owen. He has to get this woman to safety because she holds the future in her hands, in her stomach.
Right.
The stakes are very high. The premise of Hell Comes to Frogtown sounds like a porno.
Right, and it's pretty much the same plot, and I 100% agree. And it's all in execution and tone. Like it's just, yeah.
And I think we have a picture here that shows the premise perfectly. He's sitting in a lab, and he's got this explosive chastity belt on because he holds the future of humanity in his
nether region
downstairs.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's brilliant.
Yep.
The way that one concept, that the two directions it can go.
And the other thing I liked, we don't have a picture of it, but it's the same scene, and it's the idea of propaganda, because there's a sign on the wall like the Ghostbuster no symbol. It's the no or no drugs or whatever, but it's no condoms. The future is in your hands.
Yeah, we should have got a shot of that.
That's hilarious.
I thought that intro actually did pretty well of showing the world that we're in, the stakes that are there
very quickly
through very visual elements. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's like a ton of exposition in this movie.
Yeah, it's a crappy opening, but it's also dialogue. A strong opening. Yeah,
but just those visual cues of the propaganda posters, very smart. Real quick, what would you guess the budget of this movie was?
Man, a couple million.
Close, 1.5 million.
Okay.
And I can't say how successful it was. It's become a cult classic, but it has also spawned 2 sequels, which I had no idea. Return to Frogtown in 1993, and then Max Hell Frog Warrior in 2002. So this movie, it went all the way into the aughts. So it certainly has struck a chord with somebody. That's all I have for our beginning portion. Do you want to get into what was good about this movie?
The good, the bad, and the schlock. Yeah. What was good? The intro title sequence. The title sequence was amazing. It was so it reminded me of like some old TV shows and James Bond and just that 70s vibe, even though this was, mid 80s, it had music and it had these cool visuals. And it was just like, I love a movie that's like does a proper title sequence. And like, we have all these shots and it's just the whatever filters they have on and the way it's cut together. It's very, very 70s, very James Bond, very anime. Like it made me think of so many things. And like, it put me in such a positive mood to like start this movie. It
really tonally sets us up for an action movie. They look like pulp comic characters.
Yeah. It's such a good sequence that I wish the movie proper, as much as I love it, was better. Like this title sequence makes you want more Children of Minnie than Frogtown. Yeah. And I mean, you know what you're getting when the title's Hell Comes to Frogtown. But yeah, that title sequence for me was the really only good thing. There's lots of schlocky fun things. Like that. That's worth like me. It's so good that everything else that I'm going to say good, I can throw elsewhere. Like I thought for low budgets, I thought the costumes were really good. I thought the frog makeup was really good for the budget they had.
That was in my good column too. The makeup.
But so I would rather hear what you have to say good about it, because anything else that's good about this pales in comparison to that title screen.
Well, so we got the picture up right now and we were talking about the makeup. I think that they did incredibly well with the makeup. I mean, obviously you look at some of the other characters, the frog people, the croakers, the greeners, whatever they call them. To me, it seems like they had a certain amount of budget and they chose very wisely where to spend that. I think we're looking at, what's his name? Commander Toady or Lieutenant Toady or whatever. Him and the guy with the fez, the bull, I think his name was.
Arabella.
They made them all look very well. And you can tell that's where they spent their special effects makeup budget. I mean, they look like frogs. They look like toads.
And they all look the same, but they all have a unique look too. So you can like differentiate between them. When you're doing something on a low budget, you're like, okay, this is the design, do it in mass, like a stormtrooper helmet, right? That's an easy thing to do. Like it's all the same. These all have personality, which is another point.
We have sort of like the A tier special effects, and then we have the B tier special effects with the guys that they just look like they have, just a few prosthetics slapped onto their faces. We even have some that don't even show their face. I thought that was actually really great intro scene where the Frogger's face is.
Well, that wasn't a Frogger. That was the bad guy arms dealer.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
his fingers are green.
Maybe it is.
I thought that was just like a disconnected.
Maybe it is.
It makes sense because we'll talk about it a little bit later, but the actual like background story, going to inseminate women in Frogtown, that's like the overall premise, but like the story of what's actually happening in Frogtown, that was pretty loose and kind of slapped on, but we'll get in that later. So, but that would make for a better intro if that was true, if your interpretation of that intro is actually correct. So I like it. I think that's
we'll see. I could be wrong, but we'll talk about it later. Just so much I want to talk about this. So go ahead. What else is good?
I will say, kind of keeping with the special effects, my favorite thing about this movie is that when I watch these movies, when I watch these schlocky movies, and the reason I love schlock is because I find it here more than in your big budget Oscar bait movies. To me, this looks like it was a really fun movie to make. Like it would have been a blast to be there. Now, I'm not entirely sure if it was. I know that sometimes looks are deceiving. Looking at this movie, it looks like it was very fun to be a part of it. And again, going back to such a crazy premise, you know, we've had movies on this show before where the directors are kind of like one and done, or they are like adult film directors and they came and Ice Cream Man, right? I believe he came and did his one like actual movie, then went back to adult
this
films.
guy stayed consistently schlocky.
Well, the thing is though, looking up all of the special effects team, they all have had and continue to have very lucrative careers. They are working on stuff that
a lot of Cameron stuff. Yeah, like Terminator and Abyss, and like the guy who did the title sequence worked on special effects and did a lot of title sequences for some major movies. Yeah,
so I mean, these people, it's interesting to me to see what drew them to this script. You know, was it just money? Was it like, hey, we really enjoy working together, this is going to be a fun time? I don't know. I think that's really interesting. Yeah, that is it for me in the good column.
Okay.
I mean, we're there's a lot of schlocky stuff that I like, and I would put that in the good column, but we're going to hold off on that goodness
till the schlock. So I started good. What's bad?
Well, I actually only have one bad thing, but it's like very specifically bad. It's big bad.
I have one bad thing, and it's very specifically bad and big bad.
Do you want to say it like on the count of three? See if we have the same thing.
Well, I don't know how to say it. I'm trying to be tactful. Let you go first, and then I'll see if I can put it in different words.
It's when right after they get into the wasteland before
they meet the girl.
It's very, very rapey.
Wow, because I have written
rapey.
It's written right here. It's rapey.
Yeah, I mean, that was very uncomfortable.
It soured the movie for me. And there's so much I love in this movie, but I can't wholeheartedly recommend it and say it's just pure amazing, because that one scene, and
it did put a sour taste in my mouth sort of for the rest of the movie.
It's so rapey, and I'm like, and then I was talking with a friend about this because it bothered me, and I'm like, post-apocalyptic shows are inherently bring out the bad parts of society, and or you can be exploited, and not just in a sexual way, but in a monetary way, in a life or death way. Like, you know, you're in a lawless land, so bad things can happen to you. And that's kind of what the story's about, right?
Yeah, it shows like the deconstruction of societal structures.
So, you know, but even that being said, like, it just didn't age well. It was totally off. Like, they drug her. And then they're like, hey, get to work. And then he's like, and then she does her little striptease, and he's like, okay.
Well, and here's the thing, though. I think that they could have still had that scene, but used it to their advantage, because I kept waiting for Max Hell.
To be like, no, I'm not doing that. That's rape.
Right. And to give him credit, he is hemming and hawing about it, but he's like, she's not my type, or whatever.
Well, maybe you ought to try making love to a complete stranger in the middle of a hostile mutant territory. See how you like it.
Right, she hasn't brushed her teeth.
Yeah, I'm like, those aren't the words you say. The words you say, she is drugged and not consenting.
Yeah.
So this is not right.
You know, and I watched this movie probably I first saw, I think probably in 2007, 2008, right around there. And it didn't strike me as much then, at least not enough. Like now I will always remember that part of the movie. Whereas that's definitely not the main thing that I remembered after having watched it the first time. And so I wonder, like, is that a part of our world now, just being hyper aware of that?
It is part of it. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, anything you watch, you're going to filter through the times you're living in, for better and for worse. You know, the thing that, so yeah, that scene could have existed and went so many other ways than what it did. And like, the problem I have on top of it is the scene following it the next day where she's all in his arms and lovey-dovey, like it was totally cool. Right. Like they cut it in and I'm like, no, that makes it even worse. Cause you're like, okay, so that's how
Stockholm
people
syndrome or something.
Yeah, very much Stockholm syndrome. And like, you're traumatized. So you're trying to tell yourself that it was different than what it was. And so, having that man, I thought the movie was so much fun before that and schlocky and stupid. And then that scene happens and it puts a sour taste in my mouth. And then,
I think maybe one of the reasons I missed it at my first viewing is that I watched it on DVD and it just played straight through. Whereas we watched it on Tubi this time. And I don't know what your experience was, but mine was that like, I think right after there was a commercial break. And so I had like time to sit there and like, really like, man, think about it, how awful that was.
And I mean, yeah, it's just a weird thing.
And what was she, I get or as far as I understand, she escaped from Frogtown. She escaped from Toady, but why was she like delirious?
Right. I don't know if she was dehydrated or drugged out from the frogs. And then she almost appears feral in that scene. And then the next day she's talking. She's like, oh, they're 2 miles this way. And they put that wristband on her and send her off. And she's all happy and thankful that she was, I guess, possibly impregnated. Well, okay. So, and then it got me thinking, and I don't want the whole episode to be about this, but it got me thinking.
It has to be addressed.
Right. The Sam Hell character, it made that opening slightly sour because he's accused of rape in the opening scene and the main guy is going to kill him. And then they're like,
Sodom.
Right. And so he comes in and they're like, nope. She's changed her story because she's pregnant. And I'm like, well, I get in this society that she wants to be pregnant because you want to make society, extend. But what happened to her?
Right.
Because, and other times he's not. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and they say to the woman after the date rape that when you get into town, when they find out you're pregnant, you'll be treated like a hero. So I don't know. Again, the premise would fit in a particular type of movie where it's about like, here's like the dehumanization of the world, but in a movie where it's, and this is my attempt to transition into our schlock portion, but in a movie where it's like very self-aware and it's got a lot of jokes and it just seems very, very in bad taste.
Yeah.
That's part of this movie. All right. I'm sorry. Schlocky. Let's move on to Schlocky.
Let's get rid of the try. Stuff. Oh man. Okay. So, just they're frogs. Okay. So the frog dancer, man. I love how they pan up because it's
sexy.
It's the shot in movies where they have the sexy dancer in the club and you go to that first and you pan up and then we get the frog face.
Well, it's the exotic opening, the exotic opening, the exotic cantina. That's the word I want.
Very Cantina. This reminded me a lot of Cantina, not as good, obviously, but like I love, and like, I don't know, it reminded me of like Casablanca and old things where you go into clubs and like she's in on it. Like she's the informant, like she's, and then they run into to Rory Calhoun. Yeah. Great casting.
Is that Looney Tunes?
No, that's the old guy in this. He's a famous heartthrob actor. Yeah. He was awesome in it. And then there's just silly choices like the Frog Prince.
Like, well, again, self-aware,
Yeah, well, of course that's what you would read.
It's a joke.
Yeah. Or like the bike helmet beret, like, well, he's kind of a director type thing. And so he needs a beret, but we also can't afford another frog makeup. So he's going to have like a biker helmet.
Right.
Like this is like when we talked about a couple weeks ago with when they're doing a dance party in the mermaid one and then there's a guitar suddenly. Like there's schlock, and then there's like idiosyncratic things that the writer, director, actor, someone decided to choose, and no one stopped them. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with schlock. This just has something to do with someone being just a strange cat. Like, yeah.
But I think the idiosyncraticness of it, I think the weird stuff in this works a lot better because of the post-apocalyptic thing. I mean, we're just so used to seeing.
Yes, this is where you can get away with it.
And I would like to point out, so we kind of talked about Children of Men, Mad Max. This movie is clearly a Mad Max ripoff of Mad Max 1, Mad Max 2, I believe. But what I think is most interesting, the latest Mad Max, Fury Road, is kind of a ripoff of this, right? There's the harem of women. They're taken over by
there's the
overlord.
There's the dehumanizing idea of morality and what that means. And they do it perfectly in Fury Road. That's how it should be done.
Yeah, again, to making it a more serious, austere subject. But yeah, I mean, toward the end of the movie, he saves the harem. They have them riding in the back seat. I think we have a picture of this, but I saw this particular shot that they have like the lacy nightgown stuff. And I was like, that's Mad Max. Like that is what those women are basically wearing, except it's just an 80s version of that.
Yeah. And then you have the uber cheesy line to end it. Well, soldier's job's never done.
Oh man.
I'm like, and that could have been funny except for the sour taste.
He's just rapey Roddy Piper. He's going to go in and
right. So you'd mentioned Super Mario Brothers, and we were talking about the movie, but I have to bring up, this made me want to play an old video game. Do you remember Battletoads?
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
Like I want a version of this where it's the Battletoads come in and fuck the humans up. I just mess them up.
Yeah, I thought like, all right, we need to get the guys together who made this movie and make a Battletoads movie.
Right.
Maybe this is where Battletoads came from. I don't know I don't know the time frame, but maybe they saw this and they were like, video game.
Right. Yeah. I loved the samurai sword. I loved the bazooka that doesn't work, or the rocket launcher that doesn't work at the end. That's priceless.
Post-apocalypse. You don't know what's going to work. Something I want to get to, not incredibly important, but did you notice Roddy Piper is missing a tooth?
I did not.
Is that his right there? If you can.
I can.
Yeah. It is, and he's got quite a few fillings too. I'm
guessing that's real. I bet he got it punched out.
Maybe, but I think I'm trying to remember in They Live, right? Is he missing a tooth in that? And I just thought it was very interesting, right? This guy is kind of like at the height of his career, and he doesn't get dental work to go into this $1.5 million movie. And it's not very often that you see in movies a leading actor or actress missing teeth.
Yeah.
Right. I want more of that.
And again, it works because of the post-apocalyptic factor, right?
Yeah, knock more teeth out, right? Okay, so I got a couple more things I got to throw out, and then it's all you. My mind. Okay, so his acting is not very good in this, and his acting is pretty decent in They Live, and they both came out in '88. And it's interesting to see what a director can bring out of somebody, right?
I don't know. His acting, like, doesn't need to be good.
It doesn't need to be good, but
is that what they brought out of him? They're like, we just need you to ham this up.
Yeah, and I don't know. And I don't know what was shot first. Maybe he was better at hamming. I guess I just liked him better in They Live. Maybe that's it. You know.
Well,
They Live is just brilliant. So
yeah, it's a great movie. I mean, he looks stronger in They Live too. Did you notice? He does. That? Like he just looks.
He looks a little puffy sometimes in this.
Yeah, a lot of water weight probably.
Yeah, the dance of the three snakes was awkward.
Like I knew it was coming. Like I forgot a lot about this movie, but when they were talking about the dance of the three snakes, I'm like, it's dicks. I know it's dicks. Like that's what it has to be, right? For this,
but it's
script.
also interesting. Like there is no dance. Like it's just whatever you do if it makes the frog guy happy, right? Like they're like, you got to learn it. Like there's nothing to learn. She just made it up.
I actually thought that was pretty funny when she goes out and she like does like the awkward like wah 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 wah, and when he says that he's going to kill her, she's like, all right, classical or ballet. I don't know.
Yeah, there were parts in it that were
lines in this movie.
There are great lines. There's a lot of great stuff in this movie.
My favorite line in the movie, because I feel like it sums up the entire movie, and we have a picture of it. It's when Bull, with the eye patch, he's chainsawing the chastity belt off of his crotch, and he says, "I gotta tell you, you are one weird dude."
I gotta tell you, you are one weird dude.
Like I want to make this picture my background, the frog with the eye patch and the chainsaw.
I'm telling you, you're weird. Yeah, that was one of the best lines for sure.
That was definitely laugh out loud for me.
Yeah, that's a memorable line. I remember pausing and chuckling there. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so I got nothing left and we're almost out of time. I want to bring back that question and then let you finish out. What movie did this make me want to watch?
They Live? Battletoads movie?
Six String Samurai.
Oh, man, I love Six String Samurai.
When he pulled out that samurai sword, man, I was like, oh, I'd rather be watching that.
Exactly, man. I love that movie, and that's a well shot movie, man.
That's a great movie.
I got so much to say about that movie. Anyway, it's not the movie we're going to be watching next week. The movie we'll be watching next week or this week, depending on when you like to watch it. John Carpenter. Go figure. John Carpenter's The Fog.
Yes.
Schlockity schlock.
So we will put that put up on Facebook page. I am Dario's Lewis Wilson. This is my friend Chris Anonymous. We have been compelled by Schlock. We'll see you later.
Schlock.